Now by Father Desmon Nair, a parish priest of Our Ladies of Lourdes Catholic Church in Westville, and Lance Thomas is project manager at the Centre for Faith and Community at the Faculty of Theology and Religion at the University of Pretoria. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for your time. Father Nair, if I may start with you, I imagine there may have been some disappointment at the sight of the black smoke last night, but I imagine no one really expected white smoke after the first round of voting.
No, Stephen, it wasn't disappointing for any of us. It's what was predicted. There is seldom, if ever, a white smoke after the first voting, because you've got 133 cardinals, and each one is voting for someone whom they think would be the suitable person to replace Pope Francis in the chair of St. Peter. And it's going to take, as your reporter in Rome said, it's going to take at least 2 to 3, if not 4 or 5 voting processes to come up with a result. I'm not even anticipating a result today. I think that perhaps tomorrow afternoon or maybe Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, realistically, that's when it's going to happen.
Father, are members of your congregation watching this quite closely? Are they very invested in the process?
Yes, of course, Stephen. Most Catholics are very invested in this process and watching it with keenness, trying to anticipate who the new Pope would be and what kind of leader he will be in the church. Will he be perhaps on the more traditional side? Would he be more perhaps on the liberal side, less conservative? Will he be in the mold of Pope Francis? But I think most people think that, given the example of Pope Francis, but the new Pope should be a man himself, drawing from the experience of others, but yet being a leader himself in his own particular way.
Lance, this is an important moment for the Catholic Church. It's a massive institution, perhaps the oldest continual institution in human history. Can the identity of the new Pope, can a new Pope really change its direction that much?
I suppose my reflection on it is that Pope Francis himself didn't really change the direction of the Church. In my mind, he was just continuing the legacy of Vatican II and trying to formalize that, trying to figure out what Vatican II means for contemporary society. So I think his papacy, for me, was just much more a human papacy, much more connected papacy, but that doesn't mean fundamentally that he changed church teaching in any kind of radical way. It is just putting a more human face on a church that is often perceived as very legalistic, but keeping the laws in place, keeping the tradition of the church in place, just trying to present a more human face. And I think this is why we perceive his papacy as so monumental, that it's a breaking down of the walls that Catholicism often found itself locked behind from the Council of Trent. And it is just opening up the doors again, as one of the previous popes that initiated the Second Vatican Council said. Let's open the windows, let fresh air in, and let's create a new dynamism that we can move through. And I think Francis's papacy reflected that for many people. It was a more open church, a more engaged church, and so people like myself look forward to a continuation of that. But also, and I agree with Father Desmond on this, that maybe the next Pope could just slow down the pace a little bit, allow the rest of the church to catch up, and so that we can figure out where it is that the Holy Spirit is leading the church. And I think as people of faith, we try to discern the Spirit, not too quickly, but also that we don't fracture the church in our attempts to try and move forward. That the vast majority of the almost 1.4 billion people are comfortable. They understand that the church is still on course. And as you said at the beginning, we have a 2,000-year legacy of the church remaining, despite its many, many challenges, remaining a united, powerful force in the world. And I think our hope is that it continues to be that. And we trust our cardinals to be able to discern the signs of the times, to be able to pick a valid successor of Peter.
Lance, this is a moment when the whole world is watching the Catholic Church. In a way, it doesn't. I mean, the only other time that people who are secular talk about the Catholic Church is, unfortunately, when something bad happens. This is slightly different. This is an important moment for the Church to almost advertise itself in some way, to remind people why it should still be relevant, or why the Church believes it's still relevant.
Yeah. So, I mean, I work in a Protestant university. I'm the only Catholic theologian here. And the excitement around Pope Francis as a universal representative of Christianity was quite a powerful one. Many people here speak about the Pope with great admiration. And so his willingness to be open, to engage with all peoples, is something I don't think is unique to him. I think John Paul II did it quite well as well, very much a universal Pope. And I think our media, the speed in which information travels around the world makes the papacy much more transparent, and media holds us accountable quite extensively. So the truth is out there, and we need to always be sure that when we do engage, we don't step back into a tridentine model, that we continue to try and engage with the world, we continue to try and be relevant, to discern from a faith perspective on current issues. I think Francis' mark for me was his ability to juxtapose Donald Trump. Here we have one empire, one universal empire, coming face to face with a very different kind of empire, an empire of the people, grounded in vulnerability, speaking to an empire of power. And I think for me, that's a good face for the church to have, that we are church of the poor. Pope Paul VI always said, God is not neutral. God is always on the side of the oppressed. And so how does the church continue to be an institution of power, but always speaking for the dispossessed, for the people on the margins? And I think if we continue on that path, the church could be really a powerful tool going forward.
Father Nair, there's a really important aspect of this to pick up. I mean, in our society, we see, unfortunately, increasing levels of poverty, people battling to survive. We see disputes in society. We see geopolitical disputes as well. Could the church, about to become a lot more important simply as a result of these social problems we're seeing?
There's absolutely no doubt about that, because that is the role, the purpose, and the function of the church in the world, is to reach out to the marginalized, to the homeless, to immigrants, to refugees, to the poor, to the displaced, to the dispossessed, etc. And so, as Lance said, just quite the antithesis of what Donald Trump is trying to do. One of the titles of the Pope is that he's referred to as a pontiff. And a pontiff is a bridge builder. That'll be part of his function, is to build that bridge between the values of our Catholic faith, the values that Jesus expressed so powerfully, and the values of a very secular world that has turned in on itself. So the new Pope and the function of the Church, as he leads and guides it as its new shepherd, will be truly to build those bridges and to bring the values of the Christian faith into the daily stuff of life.
Thank you very much indeed. Father Desmon Nair is the parish priest of Our Lady of Lourdes Parish in Westville, and Lance Thomas is the project manager at the University of Pretoria Centre for Faith and Community.